So just to introduce what's going to happen here, I myself will be representing development. I've worked with them enough that I can kind of speak developer a little bit. I've also worked with some client-facing teams so that I can still speak English. Megan
is going to be the Department of Reality today. We're actually going to go over a few of the features in RQ4. Brian is going to talk about how they were developed and what they were developed for, and I'm going to talk about how clients actually use them in a different way.
So covering the objectives for today, really just a quick overview. We're going to talk through these examples that Megan talked about. We're going to actually give you a little bit of a view into what we're looking for in a suggestion, what we're looking for in an idea, and that will play directly into the final part where we're looking for your input specifically. It's very important that you interact because we will be recording this both here and on an online survey.
All right.
So, getting started, we have extra field in the phone activation wizard, or PAW. Now, the extra field was really mostly an addition made for carrier content. They wanted to be able to put some sort of a field that had text or numbers. Building on that, we added requirements on that field. You could specify a length, you could specify values. You know, what really is that useful for?
Well, Brian, clients have actually taken that field and used it for such things as the last 4 digits of a social security number, really helping in making sure the customer who is they say they are, just helping tracking, make sure you don't have any fraudulent customers. Also, one of the newest things I've seen customers use this for is what's called a customer ID. Somewhat carrier specific, but really just helping that you're bringing in that information from your carrier site into RQ4 and being able to track it. And what's great about it is this field is actually, you can keep it confidential because you can just restrict access to that report. So it's okay if it's a little bit more confidential information.
I've actually heard examples of this where it's highly secure stuff, and
yes,
then they're glad that it's locked off. Invoice comments. Now, really beyond the basic refund policy, I don't know what you'd use this for. I know that you can actually add comments at the location, the product, or the company level, but what's the point? I mean, it just appears here on the invoice. It's there for the customer. Like, what do you use it for? Well,
clients use it to actually be more specific. So as you see here, this is a company-wide invoice. So I've seen things such as people thanking your customer, just telling them, thank you for coming in my store, I appreciate your business, check us out on our website, our social feeds, making sure they're keeping up with what's new with you. Also, what I've seen is setting up a survey, so your clients can then go and fill out a survey and say how you did today, getting that automatic feedback, wondering, did they have a good experience with my employees? Did they have, a bad experience? And that's a good way to also attach a coupon to it, and this helps them come back into your store after. So fill out a survey, get a free coupon. I know I always fill out the surveys when I get a free coupon because it's free. So it's also guaranteeing they're going to come back into your store and spend the money at your store because they're going to redeem that coupon. Now, what's great about product invoice comments is how you can get very specific. So here you can say, here's the best apps for this new phone. Here's the proper handling and care. How many of your competitors are going to do that? Take that extra step to show your customers, I really want to make sure that you like this phone and you're satisfied when you leave the store, and I'm not forgetting about you once you walk out that door. Another great thing is, I've seen this, is actually making a checklist for your employees of what they need to go over with the customer. Did you show them how to turn on the phone? Did you show them how to download apps? Did you sign a contract? Did you do stuff in the carrier site properly? Having the customer then initial, yes, they went through this with me. Really great to track. And that can be product specific or have a company-wide one. And what's also great is I find a lot of people don't know about the location-specific comments, which is great if you've got a store such as here that's celebrating 5 years. You want to market to those customers to come back in your store and say, hey, we're having a big promotion next week. Why don't you come back and spend some more money? So It's really great that way.
It really lets you target that marketing to the right people. Speaking of marketing, we've got marketing campaigns. Now, this one was an oldie. Marketing campaigns, really difficult to find what the point of creating it was, other than just generating a list of customers. I mean, you'd go through, run a report, put some numbers in, and get a list of people out. Like, what else is there to it?
Well, it's how customers take that marketing campaign and use it. So one of the great examples I like is, say you've got the new IT phone is coming out and you don't have it right now, but you don't want to lose that customer to the store down the street. So you create an activity for the IT phone, and 2 days before it comes out, you run that marketing campaign based off that activity. And now you've got a huge list of who you need to market to and say, hey, I'm getting the phone next week. Come on in. We're having a big promotion. We've got the phone in, and we're going to make sure we have them here for you. Another great thing I've seen people use this for is seeing if your employees are doing any fraud or having issues. So this example, I'm going to try and explain it. It's, say you have a customer discount SKU set up in your database. And in order to get that discount, you have to buy a certain phone, and you want to check, is anyone accidentally giving that discount, or my employees maybe need more training, or are they giving too many discounts out to people that they shouldn't be? So I run it that they purchased that discount SKU, depending how you have it set up in your database, and the phones that you need to qualify that they didn't purchase. It's going to give you a list saying, oh, all these people bought something that they weren't supposed to get that discount. So it really helps to see if you've got employee training issues or just someone that's discounting too much.
So, I mean, great example there. It was about customers, but it's actually about activities associated with customers, SKUs, histories, stuff like that. It's great. Custom reports. Now, custom reports was something that's actually kind of exciting for developers, finally. The developers with RQ4 launch created a personalization system, and that would let you take RQ4, take various parts of it, and actually define how you wanted it to appear. One of the simplest ones is simply in any report, there's this little option to add to custom reports. You can define the search criteria, you can save it, you can rename it, and actually another addition was now, as of I believe sometime last year, maybe 4.4 or so, you could add formatting into the grid. You could highlight columns, you could make columns appear or disappear, and this is actually just accessible in virtually any report. There's a little sprocket up at the top. You can see that configure columns. What do people use this one for?
So the way they use this one is how they actually take those tools to customize that report. So I've got an example here, my vendor rebate history report. Really simply, list of all my vendor rebates. Not that exciting. But what's exciting about it is how I can manipulate it, as seen here, pulling it up by description and related product. Now I have a list of what rate plans are on what phones, which isn't really easy to find anywhere else in RQ4. So now I've taken something that was not developed and completely got way different information. And another great example is, if anyone's ever been to a summit before, maybe even one of Stacy's sessions, is the red flag report. Easy enough, you're just looking at where my sales are greater than 0 and my gross profit is less than 0. Do I have things set up wrong in my database? Are the costs wrong? Am my employees selling stuff for way out of whack that I'm losing gross profit? Really simple report, just using the simple highlight tools, and now I've got a great way to know if I've got issues.
Yeah, it's easy to just see there that you got to take a look at those specific invoices.
Oh, and what's also great is, as of 4.8, you can now create your custom report and share it with employees. So you could base that, say, red flag report for all your store managers, and then share it with them and say, hey, here's your issues you've got this week. And it's simply, they don't have to know how to create the report themselves. You just automatically have it created for them.
Yeah. I'm sure many have seen that, and they'll probably see it again in a number of other presentations. Backgrounds. Now, backgrounds is the really boring side of personalization. I mean, what's to get excited about a background? You've got some branding. You've maybe got the option to upload a personal photo. You can, make it look pretty, but beyond that, what?
Well, it's how you use your background. So an example here is one we've actually seen from a client use, and if you're excited about this, if you check out our mobile site, this actually tells you how to create this little sticky note background. So they created up and said for new staff, hey, here's how you look up inventory. Here's where you go to the intranet. Here's where you find a product. Really neat way that they took the background and use it as a training tool. Another great thing is why not use your background for what's your new carrier promotion. It's in your employee's face to remind them this is what you need to remember to be selling to your customers. They don't have to look through a piece of paper. It's right there on their background. Another great thing for anyone that has a trading database and has ever had an employee accidentally do a live sale in a trading database has known it's really not fun to fix that. So put it out there and say, do not go in the trading database for a live sale. And my favorite thing I've just recently seen customers using it for is to show your con artists in your store. As you see here, you take a picture from your security camera of that lovely mustache man who's a big time con artist.
Yeah, clearly a hardened criminal.
And you can put information like, oh, this is what they're using, this is what they're buying. Use it in conjunction with the bulletin board. Say, hey, they were just in my store A trying to buy the iPhone 4. They're under this name. And it's company-wide, so everybody's going to know about it.
Yeah, puts it right up front. In fact, I'm pretty sure he's in the Phoenix area right now, so watch your wallets. Cheap promotions were so old that I couldn't actually find a ticket. I think it existed prior to RQ4, prior to, in fact, any product that we made. We built the system around it. Stacy was able to give me a little bit of a history on it, but I don't want to say she was wrong because she'll go after me. I just want to say it wasn't the complete story. Now, originally, Sims was kind of the inspiration behind price sheet promotions, but the core idea was actually just simply adding a SKU to a activation. Sims maybe for a rebate, you know.
So this is a great feature on the evolution, which is what we're here today, to show you how features evolve, how clients use them differently, and how they evolve over time. So this is a great one showing, as Brian said, originally created, you want to track an extra spiff, you want to give an extra discount to your customer, you want to add a SIM card. Now you can do it with a positive or negative quantity, which I know not everybody knows about that, so that's a new feature. And with the new 4.8 version, you now have the add-on tab, where you can add on things such as features or accessories that need to be bought in order to get that discount or that SKU, which I know is new for carriers and it wasn't trackable before. So that's really the evolution of a feature and how it works, which is why we're here today. And we're actually here to say thank you to our clients, because without you telling us what you want to evolve, we're not really sure all the time.
It's your input that led to some of these innovations coming into being in the first place, especially look at that price sheet promotions. That was one that piece by piece things got added. Thank you for that innovation, and with that we're going to transition into our next stage here. I do want to introduce one idea to you though. How many of you are familiar with this button? Show of hands. Okay, actually a fair number. This is from our support community. Specifically, it is from our suggestion portal. Now, we've implemented the suggestion portal for a number of reasons, well, the community for a number of reasons. Primarily, it's a communication tool with you. We want to be able to interact with you. Individuals like me only maybe get to come to a summit once a year. That's really the only time we get that interaction with you. The community allows us to do that on a much more regular basis. One of the other things that, of course, does is also puts it out in a public forum so that it can become a constructive environment. Somebody may have a great idea, they put it out there, other clients can step up and say, you know what, I'm having that same problem, or I actually found a solution to that by doing whatever it takes to fix it. And then finally, of course, it's a way to provide input. Now, that input is in the form of a suggestion, and I'm going to show you a graph here, and this actually outlines the breakdown of the suggestions that we currently have. There's roughly 1,700 suggestions currently out there. You'll see the top section is actually made up of what we call active suggestions, or voted or commented on. Somebody other than perhaps an iQmetrix employee has put a comment on it, they voted up an idea, they say they like that idea. We love that feedback because it's that sort of interaction that gives us an idea that it is a good idea. From there, we've then taken a portion of them that we've marked as planned. That's that orange segment. Now, planned simply means that we like the idea enough and it's in line with our future direction that we're going to commit to do it sometime in the future. The done, the green section are of course the ones that have been completed at some point in time.
So Brian, sorry to interrupt. If I want my suggestion to be in the done and I get everybody in my company to vote it, does it get done?
Well, it's going to get looked at for sure, because we do look at those, well, we look at all suggestions actively as they come in, but we're going to look at those ones that get a lot of votes, but we will actually check on who's voted, and if it's all from the same company, it's usually a good indication it's not necessarily the greatest idea. We're going to wait until more people kind of get on that and say, yeah, I agree, it's a good idea. Finally, of course, the larger of that chunk, that's the inactive suggestions. Now, there's any number of reasons that a suggestion can fall in there, but those are the ones that, apart from our employees who've looked at them, nobody's commented on them, nobody has said they like them. May not mean that they're a bad idea, but really it's not a good indication that it's something we should pursue.
So Brian,
yeah.
I have another question. How do I make sure that my suggestion isn't in the gray box?
Well, by pure coincidence, my next slide actually talks about that. So I've got a couple tips that we can throw out there. There's really no hard and fast formula about what's a good idea. There's been some great ideas that have gone out and nobody's really reacted to them. But I think that the biggest thing that you can do to help your idea is actually start by spending some time searching. If it's a good idea, it's going to come up from other people as well, very likely. As Rhonda once told me, good ideas just, they never really die. They'll always come back. So if somebody else has suggested it and you can spend that little bit of time searching for the idea and you find it, you can get behind them, you can support their idea, right away it's going to help us see that it's not just one person saying, this is what I need, this is good. Next, of course, is that if you don't find it, you're going to create your own idea. When you do that, please use a clear and concise title. Now, I've got some examples I'll show you in a moment, but imagine if you've spent let's say 10 minutes searching for an idea and you've seen a bunch of titles and none of them are really what you're looking for, that's going to help you get thinking, okay, what's the title I should put in? Now, looking at this one, let's see, how many of you like this idea? How many of you even know what this means? Okay, same questions for this one.
I kind of know what that means.
Maybe you might open that one up. You might just go, I don't really know. Don't even know what carrier it is, right? And then what about this one?
Oh, I like that one.
Okay. How many people how many would actually, yeah, there are some people. Okay. So you got an idea about what the suggestion is going to be. You know what you're looking at. Next topic, next idea to keep in mind is think bigger picture. Now, if it's an idea that's going to help your individual process, that's good. You can suggest that. But if it's just your process, you might be the only one who really likes it. Try to think more, what are the problems you're having with your carrier? What are the problems you're having with vendors? Things that other people in the same position as you are going to say, yeah, we want that. We want to see that. And then, of course, also make sure that you identify the problem. And that's what we'll be doing when we talk in the next section. We want to see what's the need we're trying to address. We're not just trying to get a solution. We can try to reach that solution together. So you'll notice in a number of suggestions that we will frequently ask, okay, what are you trying to do when you're doing this? What's the task you're trying to complete? And it helps us design a better solution, and it helps us actually address the problem, not just put a Band-Aid on it and then find out that didn't actually fix what you were looking for. So I'm going to be inviting up our panel here. We've got, number one, we've got our design lead, Chris Nickel. And following him, we've got Tu Tran, the guy who makes movies, and also is the management lead for our integration and our web products. And finally, we have Ken Conkle, who's our development lead for the core product.
So our format today, as I said before, Brian said we're going to need your input, so please make sure that you do have your input on these features. We're going to try to go over 6. If we don't get to your 2 cents and your suggestions, at the end we will have a QR code. Please make sure you go go there and add your suggestion and comments in there. Please make sure it's constructive, but please do talk. I will be monitoring the time closely, so if I do get cut off, I apologize. And at the end, we got that QR code.
We are, I'm just getting the clock ready for you. There you go.
So Steve, if I can, Steve's got the mic? Okay.
Steve, we've got Jeremy Meyer was our first suggester, who happens to be sitting right next to Steve. Excellent. And Jeremy is going to talk to us today about restricting duplicate IMEIs across multiple SKUs. That's not you? Oh, sorry, Chris Matthews. Chris Matthews.
Oh, there we go.
At the back. Okay.
There he is.
My mistake, Jeremy.
So yeah, we're just gonna have a
Sorry to scare you on
real
that
quick 1 second, or one minute why you like this suggestion, and then we'll go.
So for there's a suggestion I think I just liked and kind of make some comments on, but pretty much restricting duplicate IMEIs across SKUs. Obviously, RQ will catch it if you're on a PO, somebody scans the same ESN twice. Just kind of a issue that we see commonly. Let's say, like on a high-demand product, you get 5 black iPhones and 5 white iPhones, and your rep's sitting there, they're in a hurry, they want to get them out the door, that kind of a thing. They scan all 5 blacks, and then they don't realize it, and they grab the black box again and rescan all 5 as the white. RQ doesn't catch that at this point. It's just kind of something that throws off our books. It ends up in a hassle because they're trying to sell it to the customer. They may end up going ahead and selling it out, and then we have a wrong IMEI on that transaction. Especially with launch devices like that. So really just more of a suggestion, if we can find a way that it can bounce and say, this IMEI or ESN is in the system currently or is on the PO somewhere, don't allow it to, or at least warn them that they're putting the same IMEI in the same system. So.
Thank you. Any thoughts?
Panel, any?
Yeah, I guess my first question would be, is there ever a case where it's valid, where you have the same serial number across SKUs? No, that's blanket.
What do you really think? Yeah.
Quite honestly, we've looked at this one before, and it's always come back to simply performance and not wanting to do the full database scan when it's not necessary, and not wanting to do a complex setup of which SKUs allow maybe duplicate IMEIs across SKUs. But I mean, if it's a blanket no, is this something that would be better as like a database option then, where you say scan all my serial numbers or scan by SKU? Or is everybody in agreement that basically an IMEI should just never be duplicated?
If anyone has a reason why, different wise, just put your hand up. Oh, we've gone at the back there, Steve.
Two at the back there.
If you've got an example why you think it should be or not.
I have a follow-up comment to that would be help eliminate a lot of this. If we had a way to import our carrier invoices and then match those to what's being checked in, it would be a tremendous asset. And the reason I say that is we now we're AT&T and we are paid partially on equipment credits. And if for some reason dealer A's phones happen to come to me, the handsets, and I don't catch those IMEIs. We just receive those, don't compare those to what we were invoiced for. We don't get paid 2 months later for that EAS because we didn't carefully compare the IMEIs checked in to what's on the invoice. So some type of electronic carrier import for each carrier so that we can match that to what's being checked in would be tremendously helpful.
Yeah, that's actually something that's come up in one way or another, and we've talked about utilizing the general reconciliation screen for something to that purpose. Another
method though is actually it's similar through VMI. There is a system like that exists with those ASN tables. Pardon for the technobabble here, but.
Was there one?
Oh, yeah, that's, we do have a specific integration where you're only allowed to receive the serial numbers that were actually sent. So that's an integration that we have with specific VMI partner. Which I think is a little different than what this gentleman's looking for.
Okay, and
did anyone else have a comment back there?
There was a second one at the back. Did you just have a question, or? I believe that's Paul.
Okay, we can go on to the next one.
I was just going to ask, so that second suggestion, the idea of actually importing it, how many people here see that as a solution as opposed to restricting the duplicate IMEIs?
A few?
In addition to, probably?
In addition to?
Yeah.
It's not one or the other. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's good. You take the next one.
I believe Tatum was going to do this one. There she is.
In this day and age, it's been more and more apt that employees are either late or just not showing up at all. Our company has hired someone to check the clock-in or their punch-in times and what they were scheduled for, and it takes about 8 hours a week to check everyone's. And after speaking with other companies, we would like to simplify this problem by either having like a report that we can pull up at any given time that shows that like a person was 10 minutes late, or like a no-show or something to indicate that would show that somebody didn't show up or that they were late.
Right. Okay. Do you guys have anything to add?
Actually, I'd be curious of knowing, I think this is probably a problem that everybody has. I'm just curious if somebody has something they can share that they do in their own company that addresses this problem, or is this a struggle that just everybody deals with, they don't know how?
Steve, we've got someone back there that said he did.
So what I've done in the past, I've actually helped out a couple companies. It would be real nice to add exception reporting inside of RQ4. So call it a widget, call it a pop-up, call it a report, whatever you guys decide it to be. But it should easily be known, hey, so-and-so, Bob Smo, was supposed to clock in at 5 o'clock. He clocked in at 5:15, in which case it's an exception, right? It's an exception to the rule. So instead of pulling all these, payroll reports and hourly reports, it should automatically either be a pop-up, something that's automatically emailed, something that's easily accessible to anyone that has those specific security rights.
Just out of curiosity, and actually this is not something that I've explored, but I know we have the punch-in, punch-out report. Is there something where you can actually configure the report? Because you can compare columns now with the custom tools. So could you write a report, basically like the red flag report, which highlights those for you?
I mean, you could. It is
and then you can even share that with
and then you
your
could share it
managers.
out and have that report. So it is something that might be useful, but again, someone has to do that and understand it and configure it and make it. For me, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. Some other companies don't have people, IT, and so on and so forth. They need something that automatically pops up, right? So it's usability, it's easeability, and it's stability. So.
If I can jump in here, I think one of the concerns that I'd have would be a report would all be after the fact, whereas from what it sounds like, I mean, it's a late or no show, so if they're halfway through a shift and they haven't shown up, it would be better to find that out then instead of at the end of the day. So.
Okay.
Yeah, one of the things we're currently doing is we're making a shift to a lot of this information on mobile devices. So we're revamping PocketRQ reports to include things like notifications when the cash register is cashed in or cashed out, but we're looking to extend that further to HR stuff. So if we had a widget that just let you know when your employees didn't clock in or who's clocked out, who's currently at the store on your mobile device, would that help the situation?
Yeah. Steve, Sorry?
Would that be assigned to certain bid, is that?
Yes. There'd be security settings with it, but yeah, as we expand the product, we're looking which direction we want to go in, and this is the kind of information that we were hoping to add in that device.
And we'll have time for one more, I think, then we'll go to the next one.
Yeah, getting close.
Yeah.
This was actually suggested when we did some BI training a while back, but something like that. But the other thing, just to expand on it, would be because you have our hours for our stores, same thing. If somebody's working a half an hour after the store's closed or an hour before the store closed, again, that's hours that we're paying that we don't want to be paying. So same kind of idea, but to expand on that, I think that would be applicable as well. Same thing, you want to know when it's happening.
So real time versus after the fact. Yeah.
Okay.
We should move on to the next one though, getting low on time. If you have any other concerns, remember you can add them to the survey. Driver's license scanning for customer information. Now, this is one that's been suggested by a number of people a number of times. The concept is they don't want their sales clerks having to manually enter customer information. There's prone to error, obviously. I don't know if there's really much more to add to that. Any comments?
I guess my first question would be, how many people are requiring their sales clerks to take the driver's license and manually copy a whole bunch of information in?
A few people.
And is it, like, are you actually taking something like the driver's license number? Are you saving a scan of that? Like are you attaching the scan to the customer profile?
If we are allowed to scan anymore, me as a dealer, we were no longer scan it and attach it to the contract because supposedly it's not legal.
Right.
Actually take a scan, to scan your driver's license and attach it to an agreement.
Right.
But when you have to run someone's credit, yes, you do. Sorry, that's fine. You have to, of course, when you're running the credit, you do need a whole bunch of information: the driver's license number, the expiration date, and just for us, just to keep our churn down, we try to get that same information to the customer notes.
Right.
When you're creating a customer. So.
Right, so this is something that's important enough that you guys would be willing to buy the additional hardware required to scan the driver's license? Yeah?
Okay, I'm seeing mixed results from some here. Now,
Does anyone have
the other option is trying to build something where you have to take a scan of it somehow, and we can't allow the sales clerk to take a picture of it or anything like that.
So what I was thinking was how you go to a liquor store and you have those scanners where you just swipe the card, and it could be integrated with Doc4, just all of it just pushes the information directly. Of course, it's reading it by your scanner. Just like you swipe someone's credit card, and you get that across to that particular field or a bunch of fields.
Yeah, I guess it'd be determined whether the same hardware can read all the information off that barcode, right? Which I just don't know.
The research we have done was that there are two different contents. There's the more complicated QR code type barcode, and there's also just a typical scannable barcode. Actually, no, come to think, there's three, because there's also the mag swipe on some cards. The information is basically contact information and maybe a little bit of the driver's license. But for those who hadn't heard, I'm sorry I didn't get your name, but Chad? Yeah. The first comment you made was that it is actually illegal in Texas, and it's a gray area in other states. There's legislation pending to ban it potentially. So,
yeah. So how many people here would actually have concerns about the security or the legal ramifications of scanning that?
Yeah. Okay.
Almost as many who were interested in the area.
Restricted access to the system so that when it scans in, it goes to the customer profile. Only those that exactly well access it, so that it's not, with an employee, I can't just click into anybody's and go get your driver's license. I have to have a security level of this or higher. Is that possible?
Yeah, I'm not sure if that actually fixes the legality of scanning it, because really what we're doing is we're just taking that name and address and shoving it into the customer field, so we're not keeping a copy of it at that point, but it's still a question of whether it's legal.
admin access to print with signature? Same thing. Okay.
So in some respects, it almost sounds like one idea, we need a secured field in the customer. Second one is this integration, whether or not that's worth it is sort of mixed, it sounds like.
Perfect.
Okay.
Who is this one?
Now, increased sales order tracking and refundability. I believe we have Linda, who has volunteered to speak to this.
Okay, to speak to that part of it, currently, once sales orders go into the system, it's a lot of discipline to get people to go back and revisit those and to clean up that report. And I think we still have sales orders in the system from 2010 where people took deposits for iPhones, before they launched. And they're still in there. Now it's a cash management nightmare to go back and take care of those at this point and, find out if we ever rang that out or not. So something more visible, I don't know, a widget by store or something to that effect that would show your sales orders on the screen that are open for your location, something where they don't have to go run a report, or we don't have to send them a report, but they could visibly see these are the products that are waiting on receiving at your location, so they could follow up with the customer. And then the refund ability, I'm not sure, we you know, in the past, we've created workarounds because of a problem that was in our Q4, and then as it got resolved, and maybe we weren't aware that it got resolved, we're still doing that workaround. And so currently, if we, and I think this one's been fixed, but, you know, if we want to cancel a sales order where we've taken the money, one thing is that we don't, you have to take, I think, the product off and then put a non-stock product, some SKU on there before you can cancel it. And then if you cancel it from that screen and you don't go to the next screen, it'll, you know, of course, give you the error that there's money that you've taken on the sales order, so you have to go there and refund that to some tender type. But in between saying refund check and tender, it should give you a way to print. Either way, it's just very
complicated, right? Like
it is a little complicated.
Solution.
And then I have one more.
Okay.
You want to speak to that? And then
Sure. So does anybody remember Retail IQ? Did anybody here use Retail IQ? So one of the things that you actually just described existed in Retail IQ, and it was that basically the sales order history. So you'd log in, and for your location or region or whatever, you would see all your outstanding sales orders and their statuses. And that's actually something that we've looked at putting back in. The information is available. It's just making it highly visible, right, similar to like purchase orders are on the inventory console.
Right.
So something similar, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And so the process around refunding on sales orders, you're right, is very convoluted, and that's something we've actually been looking at trying to fix for a while, and just trying to come up with the best solution that fits everybody's needs in the way that they're using the sales order module. And we realized everybody has sort of got their workarounds that they've started using. We want to be careful not to disrupt things so much that that starts causing additional problems if they keep using those workarounds as well. But certainly we and I know Brian can speak to this, is something that he's been looking at, just how do we address these convoluted workarounds just to refund the money. And then there's additional security needs, I think, around there, and auditing and logging of cash that's going on and off those sales orders. I think that whole cash management piece, or just transaction management piece around sales orders, is something that needs to be looked at.
Yes.
So I think that's like a general frustration with sales orders, right?
So I'll add another little level of complication to that. Is
sure.
We use on every transaction carrier integration. So we download an XML file from the carrier, and then we import it, and it brings over all of our SOC codes, and it basically rings the phone out for us with all the things that we entered into the carrier's point of sale software. Well, when we do a sales order, for example, you know, we do sales orders all the time, but iPhones, for example, where we take a deposit for those. And so somebody came in wanting an iPhone 5, we took $100 from them, it came in, we called them, they came back to get it. Well, we can't use carrier integration because it doesn't pull that $100 deposit over through carrier integration onto the invoice. That's a huge problem. That's something that our cash management team has spent probably 80 hours on in the last few weeks since the iPhone launch, just cleaning those up because the salespeople aren't doing it correctly.
So what are you telling your sales reps to go through the sales order and complete the sale, or are you telling them to go through carrier integration and complete the sale?
We want them to go through carrier integration. That's the most important thing. But if they've already taken a deposit, our workaround is that you go back to your sales order, you refund that deposit to cash, cancel your sales order, and then you run through carrier integration and apply the $100 cash to the invoice. And it's just not happening. It's a lot of hoop jumping.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
For those who didn't hear, it was, the suggestion was actually collect the deposit on a gift card. And so then the customer has a gift card that they could use, ensuring they'll come back.
That's a really good idea. Thank you.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity on that, is that gift card refundable or no? Like, there's no way that they can, so let's say they go to some other store, the iPhone's in stock, and so they just buy it. And so now they come back to you and they want their money back because they just ran through the sale down in their store. How do you handle that scenario?
worst case scenario, we absolutely have to, we do refund the money. But in order to refund the money, we need to get the gift card back. So once it comes back to us at the office, then we refund the money, so the customer has to wait. So we make sure we tell them that up front.
We're basically 3 minutes left. We're going to have to cut off discussion on this one. We've run out of time for this. Please provide more feedback on the survey on this one. It sounds like there's a lot to
Yeah, and I think just to quickly highlight this gentleman's point is that there's also, when somebody puts a deposit on an iPhone, there's usually a purchase order that's associated with that as well. So you want to be able to track the purchase order for that phone, and then when the purchase order is received, then track that back to the sales order and complete the sale, and tie in carrier integration, right? So there's a lot of moving pieces here.
Okay, fully voiding sale. This one is Jeremy's. Excellent. We are very short on time, so.
Basically, we're actually in airports, so we have customers that come in. 90% of the time, we don't capture any customer data. They run a sale. Either they leave the store without the product because they didn't think the sale was completed, or for whatever reason, they've left without the product, or they forget the product in the store. There's lots of times where we have customers not actually complete the physical transaction, but we have a sale completed in the system. And actually, we've had an issue with RQ4, with our carrier, or our credit card processing integration as well, and that same thing's happening. So if we could go back and void these sales without having to have any customer information, because that's the problem, is customers left. I can't run their credit card again, so I don't have any information now.
Right.
The main thing is I want to give the customer the refund and keep my inventory correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess, and one of the things though is with when you're processing the payment, like voiding that payment, you physically need that card for some of the payment providers. So depending on your payment provider, even to void it, you still need that card. The customer still physically has to be there.
I also checked with our lead on payment processing, and he verified that. He also made the statement that void would have to be done same day.
Yeah, or just before you do your batch out.
Yeah, before you do your batch.
It would have to be voided. So there's certain complications around when you could do it. If it's where the customer just walks out, I suppose, and it's just sitting there. In that case, when it's plastic, I'm not actually sure what we can do with the void, and that's something on the payment side that I think we'd have to talk with the payment providers to see what's possible. If that's the common scenario where the customer is completely gone and you need to void it. I mean, if it's cash, it's a different story. But
yeah, do we have? Anka has got a comment. We'll make you the last one.
I like the concept, but it's very, very scary because of the payment, and I think that if you guys do anything, it has to be a little flexible to fit everybody's processes. For people who import QuickBooks every day, you have to let them, have the option of posting that change to the original thing or to the thing that you're voiding. Then you have inventory and commission implications the same way. So it's a great concept, but it's a little scary.
Yeah, and we might be very constrained.
Security.
How many other people would be really scared by that feature?
A few people? Okay. I just want to touch really quickly, we're almost out of time, but I just wanted Ken to kind of touch on our last topic, and then we'll put up the QR code so you guys can come up, scan it, and you can vote and add any more additional comments that we didn't get to today as well. So if you want to just explain this one.
Sure. This is a concept, when we first started the community site, this is actually one of the most popular suggestions, was a way to instant communication between workstations. And technology available at the time had always made this really infeasible. Now this is to the point where instant communication between devices and mobile platforms and workstations is actually attainable. And something that we're actually interested in gauging interest on from you guys is if this is something that would be controlled from RQ4, but available on multiple devices, so all the different, say, mobiles. From your Android device, you could send an instant message to the sales clerk who's logged in at a workstation. They could message a friend in another store on their workstation, and building out that kind of communication. But at one point, we'd actually closed the suggestion and said, no, we're just never going to do this. But anyways, I'm interested to know your guys' feedback on something like that. And also your guys' comfort level with having your, say, sales clerk install this app, or your managers install this app on their iPhone, say, or their Android phone.
Thank
you
you.
wanna come
Sorry we cut everyone a little